Now, residents of Sir Lowry's Pass village are still waiting to be moved into permanent houses. It's a month since they were displaced by a Western Cape storm. Some facilities are still staying in or families rather, are staying in a community hall, and local authorities say available land is scarce. Our reporter Kevin Brandt, he's been tracking this story for us, and he joins me now with the latest. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. Of course, we know that these families are desperate to find new homes. Staying in a hall, it's just not what they signed up for, and they were promised home very soon. So what's the latest you can tell us?
Very good afternoon to you, Baron. Well, the update coming from the city of Cape Town is that the residents have now been placed from that hall. They've been put in a temporary relocation area, and that is why while officials now wait for an outcome on available land that they've identified in that community and to relocate these residents to. I got to speak to some of the residents earlier today who told me that they would have wanted this process to have been wrapped up much sooner, but authorities say there are obvious legal processes that have to be followed. There are also consultations that needed to take place, and that is why this process has been slightly delayed. Also saying that that was not the only area within the province that was affected by the rainstorm that hit the province here towards the end of last month. So word is that there is work underway to relocate these residents then permanently to a site, and that will take about 3 to 4 weeks most probably before that process can get underway. But the Human Settlements Mayoral Committee member Carl Popham earlier today told me that a piece of land has now been identified. They're waiting for the regulatory processes to then hand that land over to Human Settlements, and that is when those residents will be able to move onto that plot. I also spoke to residents in the 8 Cake Informal Settlement. That is the area specific in the Sir Lowry's Pass community that was hit by the storm. That is where about 35 families have been impacted by the adverse weather conditions, and some of them say that they were able to salvage some of their belongings. They were able to move back, but the big idea from the city officials is that they will then secure that land so that no one can move onto that specific section again, saying that they wouldn't want to return in 2, 5 or 10 years time with another storm here within the metro and having to relocate people from there again. But obvious frustration from these residents, but officials say at this stage this is what they can offer, and that these residents will eventually be housed in their own homes again. Baron?
And just tell us about what the people are going through in those halls. Are they actually getting the necessary things that they need? Food, warmth, because I know electricity was also an issue a few months ago, or weeks ago rather. So tell us, how they are feeling at this moment, if you had a chance to speak to any of them.
Yes, Baron, most of these residents have been able to, in the meantime, either find a place to stay with relatives, or some of them that were still housed in that community hall, they've now been relocated into temporary homes where they have been provided with these services. And very early on, when the storm hit the metro and that area was affected very badly, that is when we saw NGOs, in particular humanitarian aid organization Gift of the Givers, coming out very quickly and to provide these residents with some relief. They've now, however, been able to move into their specific places where they opted to stay. There were also many residents who did not want to stay in that community hall, saying that they would rather stay with relatives, or they found some shelter with friends. But they were able to then manage to now foresee for themselves. And the word is, though, from the authorities that the ongoing process is that there will be regular communication from the city, but also the provision of those services, as well as those social services, will also be provided to residents who still require some of those services, but most of them are actually working with it in that community. That's why initially they were very hesitant when word came that they will be relocated to a specific area, and they very early on demanded that they want to stay within that specific community, that they do not want to relocate from there because their kids are in school there. Most of them have a job in that area as well. But at the moment, they are waiting desperately then to move into their own places, with the authorities on the other end saying that they're doing the best they can to accommodate these residents.
So just to be 100% clear again, Kevin, there's no set timeline or given timeline for when they will be receiving new homes or will be moved to this permanent residence?
Not exactly in terms of when the actual rebuilding on this new site will start, but word is that at least within about 3 to 4 weeks' time, that is when the land will at least be handed over to the Human Settlements Department here within the metro, will then be able to then relocate these residents onto that space. So more or less, at least when it comes to the handing over of the land, that will take place at least in about 3 to 4 weeks' time from now, when we can expect most probably, hopefully before Christmas time, that these residents will be then back in their own homes. It's of course a development that we'll be watching closely and will bring more details on.
All right, thank you so much. That was our reporter Kevin Brandt in Lowry's Pass, of course, just giving us an update there, or from our Cape Town studios. But of course, he's been on the story in Lowry's Pass, where those communities, 8 Cape being one of those hard-hit informal settlements there in Lowry's Pass. Of course, these people are waiting for homes, and they've been put in halls, they've been put in other forms of shelter. But of course, you know, that is not how they envisioned the next few months, at least going to December, for their lives to be in, especially if you have kids, if you have a matriculant. It is tough times, and I can't imagine going through that while still having to write exams. So hopefully something will be able to happen very soon and get these people their homes very, very soon. So thank you so much for that update, Kevin Brandt there in Cape Town.